Okay, so for more than 1,000 years, there was this one civilization that just dominated the Western world. I mean, its legacy in law, language, architecture, we still feel it all around us today. We're talking about ancient Rome, of course. So the big question is, how on earth did it rise to such incredible heights? And maybe more importantly, what led to its spectacular collapse? Let's dive in.
Right, so this is the central question, isn't it? How does a tiny little village become a global superpower and then just fall apart? It is an absolutely epic story of ambition, incredible innovation, and then total disintegration. Look, the rise of Rome is amazing, for sure, but its fall? Well, that's where the real lessons are hidden. You know, it's actually kind of hard to wrap your head around, but the mighty Roman Empire, it all started right here. Just a humble little village in central Italy. The legend says it was founded way back in 753 BCE by twin brothers, Romulus and Remus. And from this one single tiny spot, it grew and grew until it stretched all the way from the Atlantic Ocean to the Persian Gulf. I mean, how incredible is that? So 1,000 years is a long time. How do you even begin to make sense of it all? Well, a good way is to break it down into 3 big phases. First, you had the regal period, basically a monarchy ruled by kings. Then, around 509 BCE, things changed. It became a republic where, citizens actually had a say in who was in charge. And then finally, in 27 BCE, it morphed into the Roman Empire we all picture from the movies. And this was a huge, huge shift. They basically traded the ideals of the republic for the, let's call it stability, of an emperor with absolute power. And that kicked off this long period of peace called the Pax Romana.
All right, so what was the secret sauce? What fueled this incredible expansion? Well, it really just boils down to 2 key things: an absolutely unstoppable military and some seriously brilliant engineering. Let's break down how these 2 engines of expansion really worked together to build an empire.
Yeah, the Roman legions, they were the heart and soul of this whole thing. And you've got to understand, this wasn't just an army, it was a way of life. They just systematically took over the entire Italian peninsula. But they didn't stop there. Oh no. Next, they set their sights on the whole Mediterranean. They took down huge rivals like Carthage and Greece, and they just kept going and going until their empire stretched all the way from the chilly shores of Britain to the deserts of what we now call Iraq. Just relentless. And if you really want to grasp the scale of their ambition, just look at this number: 50,000 miles. That's how many miles of roads the Romans built. Now, sure, they were originally for the military, to move legions around super fast. But they ended up being so much more. They were the veins of the empire, connecting everything and everyone, for trade, for communication, and for spreading new ideas. It was a total game changer.
Okay, so as Rome's cities got bigger and bigger, they ran into a massive problem. I mean, how do you get clean water to like 1 million people? The answer? Roman engineering. Pure genius. They built these incredible aqueducts, these huge, massive structures that literally carried fresh water for miles into the city. This was absolutely crucial for public health, and it's what allowed their cities to grow into the bustling, massive places we think of today.
But here's where the story gets really, really interesting. See, Rome's success wasn't just about rolling in with an army and taking over. No, maybe the real secret to why they lasted so long was their amazing ability to absorb and adapt the best stuff from the cultures they conquered. This wasn't just copying people, it was a brilliant strategy. Think about it. By adopting local gods, customs, and technologies, Rome made people feel like they were part of the whole project, not just a conquered territory. Just take a look at this. From their nagers in Latium, they got the Latin language. I mean, the root of so many languages we still speak. From the Etruscans, they picked up religious ideas, and even the whole bloody spectacle of the gladiators. But their biggest influence by far was ancient Greece. You know all those famous columns you see on Roman buildings? That is pure Greek architecture, which the Romans saw, loved, and then made their own. Honestly, this cultural blending, this was their superpower. It's what made the empire so dynamic and so adaptable. Now, as the empire started to age, something was happening. A massive cultural shift was underway. A new faith, born on the very edges of the empire, was about to change everything, not just for Rome, for the entire world.
And that new religion was, of course, Christianity. It began in the Middle East, and for a while, it just slowly gained followers. But the real game changer? That happened when the emperor himself, Constantine, converted. I mean, when the most powerful man in the world becomes your champion, well, the path is pretty much set. Rome eventually became a Christian state, and that's how the faith spread like wildfire across Europe. But all good things, well, you know how it goes. After millennium at the top, the Roman Empire began to crumble. And listen, it wasn't just one single thing that brought it down. Not at all. It was more like a perfect storm of problems. Some coming from the inside, some from the outside that would finally bring the superpower to its knees. So let's look at it like a war on two fronts. From the inside, the empire was basically rotting away. You had massive political corruption, a terrible economic crisis, and this huge growing gap between the super rich and the poor that was just tearing society apart. Okay? So that's happening inside. And at the exact same time, from the outside, you have tribes constantly hammering away at the borders. And here's the kicker. These two problems were totally connected. The economic crisis meant they couldn't afford to pay the soldiers they needed to defend the borders. And the political corruption? It meant the leaders were too busy fighting each other to even think about a unified defense. It was a disaster waiting to happen.
And in the end, that 1-2 punch, the decay from within and the pressure from without, it was just too much to handle. After more than 1,000 years, the mighty Roman Empire just disintegrated. It wasn't a quick death, not at all, but it was final. But here's the thing, and this is what's so wild. Rome never really died. Its legacy is literally all around us, in our governments, our legal systems, our languages, even the buildings we see every day. And so that leaves us with one last really big question. What can the story of this ancient superpower, its incredible rise, and its dramatic fall, what can it teach us about our own world today? Definitely something to think about.